Go. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing?
Well, how are you?
Any millionaires in the room? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay, so maybe you didn't raise your hand to be a millionaire. Any thousandaires in the room? Any hundredaires? So everybody, I'm LaTanya Parks. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the invitation to come here. It was a pleasure meeting you and your husband during our last conference. Just to give you a little background information about me, I am an entrepreneur. I am a wife. I'm a mother of two beautiful girls. I am in the business of creating wealth, is what I would tell you. And I do that through real estate, primarily, is what I would tell you. But building wealth is one of those things that's going to always be important. If you have $5 in your pocket, you know, if you stop to McDonald's to get your child a kids meal, what could you do with the other $2?
$5 is gone.
It's gone already. It's gone. As Denise mentioned, that's one of the things. If you're not attracting money, that law of attraction, and I also call it the power of I am. I am abundantly blessed. I am rich. I am a millionaire. In fact, I am a billionaire. I'm going to speak all that into the atmosphere because that's what I want to attract to me. Additionally, I mentioned this, Elizabeth mentioned that I was a realtor. Realtor has 2 syllables. So when you hear someone say, this is my realtor, it's not really accurate. Look, I am a realtor, 2 syllables say realtor.
Realtor.
So when you go to the hospital and you have to see a physician, is he a doctor? No, he's not a doctor. He is a doctor, okay? So just some little food for thought when you're going into a place. I'm a realtor and you see a doctor, okay? Just 2 syllables for both of them, okay? I am retired in the military. I spent 20 years in the military. I retired in 2007. So one of the things that I did once I retired, because I'd watched so much HGTV, that was like my thing. It still is my thing, actually, so don't let me downplay that. I watched a lot of HGTV and just household shows as a whole. So I considered myself to be like the subject matter expert all of a sudden. So I went to get my license to become a realtor. We had just PCS from Hawaii to Fayetteville, North Carolina, where we spent a lot of our, retirement times, I'll say. Went to real estate school, got my real estate license, and began my journey as a realtor, right? Say realtor?
Realtor.
Okay, that's who I am. That's one of the things that I am. So began my journey with that back in 2007, and since then, one of the things that I recognized as a realtor, you don't just jump out into the world and think that you're going to automatically have what you need. You don't come with clients instantly unless they're your mom and dad or a cousin or relative or something. You have to be in the place to actually invite people into your circle. They still thought I was Sergeant Parks. They didn't know I was LaTanya Parks, the realtor. So I had to slowly convince them, hey, don't look at me as Sergeant Parks anymore. Look at me as a girl who can sell you the house or help you get into a property that you want, whether it's a condo, a home, a mansion, a mini mansion. It really doesn't matter to me. If it's a property that we can get you into, that's what I specialize in. But along the way, it took me money. As I was waiting for that first client to come, it takes time to actually get your money, your inflow coming in. You have to buy business cards. If you're a business owner in a business and you don't have business cards, you're running a hobby. Say hobby. Say business.
Business.
There are 2 distinct differences between those things. So if you're running that business, you want to make sure you have some business cards when you're going, different places. You might find me, or I'm liable to leave a business card when I'm leaving a restaurant for someone. I don't care who you are. I care that you have a dream and you want to achieve home ownership. That's what I care about. And if I can be that conduit between that house that you want and the person who helps fulfill that need, I'm your girl for that. One of the taglines that I often say, and you see me post on Facebook and some other things, is everything I touch turns to sold. That's my tagline. I want you to know that about me as you see me walking towards you. Oh yeah, that's the girl. Everything she touched turns to sold. That's everybody. They may not know my name, but they know my tagline. Do you have a tagline for your?
Is cooking a lost art.
Cooking a lost art.
Is cooking a lost art.
Is cooking a lost art. Okay. Miss Avon, do you have anything that you do? What's your tagline to make sure people know that you're the Avon lady and see me first? Ma'am, you don't have anything? Okay, the beauty box will work. That will work. But it's something that's going to set you apart from other people. There are a gajillion realtors in the world. There are a gajillion business owners. There are a gajillion motivational speakers. If I go online, just, pick one. I'm going to probably pick the one that has the catchiest phrase, and then I'll go and do my background, search on them to kind of see what they're about. How are they presenting themselves in the community? How are they showing up in the world? As I digress, money again. Money and wealth are one of those things that you create for yourselves. If you have a credit score that you need to build up, if your credit score is, say, no matter what it is, if you're trying to purchase a home, that minimum credit score that you want to have is at least 640, because that would give you a competitive rate when you go to the lender asking, hey, can I borrow this money? You have to have some place to start before that. If your credit score is not 640, what are you doing to make sure your credit is where you need it to be? What would you say, Denise?
Pay your bills on time.
Pay your bills on time. Anybody disagree with that? Ma'am, what would you say would be that thing that you can do to help not pay your bills, but get your credit score up?
Don't apply for nothing else.
Yeah.
No more credit, stick with what you got.
Okay. Ma'am, what would you say to help build your credit? Bless you, dear.
Let's see.
Help them build your credit. What could you do?
We already said, I know they said pay bills on time.
Yes.
Don't buy anything else.
Mhm.
Maybe like an investment
Okay,
Have
awesome,
investment.
awesome.
that you stay on top of.
Absolutely. So all of those things are vital to helping build your credit. I don't walk around saying I'm broke, because that's manifesting some stuff in the atmosphere. I'm not broke. I will never be broke, as a matter of fact, because I'm not going to pull that out of my mouth. As a sign to help me remember that I'm not broke, I always keep a $100 bill in my wallet. So don't y'all try to jack me before I leave this place, okay? But that's my thing. If I see that $100 bill in my wallet, that's one of the things I'm like, okay, you're not broke. If you had to do something with this $100, you could in essence do it with that $100. It's not going to take you a long way, but could you make it work? Possibly so. So building that credit line up is what you need to do. Whenever we have people who are actually coming into our office to apply for one of our rentals that we manage, one of the things we do is do a credit check. So we're looking, does your credit report have, 1 all the way across it? Because that tells me that you've been paying your bills on time. Or does it have 2, which tells me you have some days, some times that you were late 60 days. You have some times that you were late 30 days. If they're all 3s on your credit report, then you were late excessively 90 days or more on your credit. All of these things are going to play into your mindset for building wealth. All of these things. Whenever you're walking into that place and you're trying to apply for a credit card, or you need to get a car rental, are they going to give you that thing because you don't have a credit card? Possibly. Whenever you're going into the mall and there's a store that is offering you a 15% discount for applying for a credit card for them today, do you take advantage of that? I used to, until I learned better. I don't need 19 credit cards. 19 is my number. I don't need 19 credit cards to get me where I need to go. I need one credit card with a low interest rate, and I'm going to pay it off every single month at the end of the month. If you don't pay that credit card off at the end of the month, what you're doing is giving that bank money. So you're actually building wealth for that bank, but you're not building wealth for yourself. That savings account that you have, are you putting money to the side every single month? Whether it's $50 or $100, what do you do every single month that's going to actually start to increase your savings account? If you're trying to buy a house, save the money for a down payment unless you can pay cash for the house. Everything is about saving. Anything that you want to do is going to require money 9 times out of 10. It's going to require money. We put money in investments, as my sister said here. We put money in Roth IRAs. We have accounts with Oppenheimer, with Fidelity. You can have TSPs. All of these things are places that you can actually put your money so you can start to build. If I don't see it, I'm not going to spend it. It's kind of how I look at it. If I have an account with my thousandaire self or my millionaire self someplace, I might have it on. Now banking is done online primarily, it seems. You don't get to walk into a bank as often anymore. You can just set up the account online, transfer the money online, and I love those features with these mobile banking things that they have. So I send that account some money every single month, and slowly I start to see it accumulate. Plus the interest that they put on it. I think they call it compound interest, is that right? The interest and stuff that you gain every single month on it. If you're not paying attention to it, it's just continuing to grow. So before you know it, you have that $10,000 to buy that car that you need. You have that $25,000 that you needed to put on a down payment for a house because you didn't want to be buying it for the next 30 years. If you're in the process of buying a home, one of the other things I like to tell my clients is don't go out and get a 30-year mortgage on a house. That $85,000 house that you just purchased, that you've extended over the life of a 30-year loan, has now cost you probably about $400,000 for an $85,000 house. Does that make sense to anybody in the room? That 15-year mortgage that I'm telling you about, if you were to buy a home on a 15-year mortgage, let me back up. A 30-year mortgage, if you're making an additional payment every single month, every single year, or you're making 1/12 of that mortgage payment every single month, so no matter how you do it, you just want it to be consolidated, and at the end of the year, you've made one extra payment. So for a 12-month period, you've made 13 payments, is what I'm saying in essence. Whether you broke it down to 1/12 every month or one fat payment at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, however you choose to do it. But with that 30-year mortgage, you've now pushed that home to being paid off to about 23 years. 23 years. All that interest that you're adding on to the mortgage company, somebody else is living fat off of you. They just are. They just are. One of the other things that I always like to do too is an emergency fund. If you can start building your emergency fund, and that's going to be at least 3 to 6 months of whatever your monthly bills are. Start building a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So if something happens and your car actually has to have some new tires because you were driving down the road, it had a blowout or whatever, you don't have to worry about how am I going to get the money to pay for this. Well, you go back to that emergency fund, and once you finish getting the tires on your car that you need, you replenish that money when you're able to. But you keep that 3 to 6 month emergency fund for those types of emergencies. Now, going to the mall and buying some shoes is not an emergency. But paying a light bill before they turn the lights off is an emergency. But if you're disciplining yourself, and that's what wealth is, it's about discipline. If you're disciplining yourself during that wealth process, you don't have to worry about these unforeseen things coming up and you're not being able to handle them. You already have an ace in the pocket to figure out, how am I going to handle this? I don't have to go ask my mother or my father for a couple dollars, because I need to do this. It's just something that you already planned for, you're prepared for it. If something were to happen, I lose my job for a few months, I still have a cushion in which I can live off of. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody agree with me?
Yes.
Who's building wealth in their mind right now as we're talking? Anybody? Okay, my daughter is raising her hand. I hope she is.
And then that mindset you're passing to your children, which
Absolutely.
is vital and priceless.
Absolutely.
Because then they'll pass it to theirs, and so we're changing the generation.
It is a learned behavior, as Denise says. You are teaching your children your habits. Whether they're good or bad, you're teaching your children your habits. Now, I would love and pray that they have the habits that I have, because it means a lot to me that we are not living in a place that we can do better. You can always do better, and say when you know better, you do better. Okay, so now that I know about money, now that I know how to attract money, Denise telling me that she manifested $10,000 to make her move down here. She didn't do that because she just, haphazardly thought about, somebody is going to give me a check today for $10,000. That's not how that happened. Is that right?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't think so either. That's not how that happened.
Nope.
So she definitely was trying to make sure she manifested what she needed for her journey, that she was going to go and start her brand new life over. She manifested that. You can manifest money. Every place that you go, you make sure you leave a business card. You make sure people know who you are whenever you leave the room. I don't care how you figure it out, short of doing something ridiculous, but make sure people know who you are. If you're trying to grow your business, if I heard the gentleman say that you're trying to go into personal catering or personal chef services, that's what you do?
Working on food truck.
Okay. So what kind of promotional do you have in order to let people know that's what you do with your food truck? And
Cars, I always do the cars.
do you have to do stuff for free sometimes to get where you want to be? Yeah, right.
Gotta be in the business.
Yep.
Not a you.
Okay, you really do, but I will tell you, everything that you give, you receive back. It's like karma. And it's like she said, the boomerang, whatever you put out in the atmosphere is going to find you. Good or bad, it's going to find you. So make sure, no matter where you are, you're sowing, you're planting that seed so somebody else can water that seed. Hey, I got a friend who's a caterer. Hey, I got a friend who has a food truck and we have this huge seminar coming up. Let me call us if he's available. It's all about relationships. I never knew I would meet Elizabeth and then be at her function. That's not what I thought this was going to be about.
Yeah.
But I knew being in the room with a bunch of other women, that's liable to happen. Be expectant of great things. That's what I would tell you. I always expect greatness no matter where I am. I expect wealth. I expect God's favor. I expect all of these things because I'm manifesting, as Denise said. I'm manifesting those things. Vehicles. Any Dave Ramsey fans in the house? Anybody heard of Dave Ramsey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard of him.
You need to check out Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is one of those guys. He has a podcast. He has a YouTube channel. He has several avenues. He has several books. But he's teaching this wealth building that I'm talking about. He has like 8 steps that you actually go through. The first step is to, save $1,000. And that's that mini emergency fund. Very mini, because when I say mini, I'm talking M-I-N-I, not M-A-N-Y. It's a mini emergency fund. So once you have that $1,000 saved, he tells you start paying off your bills. He says pay your credit cards from the lowest to the highest. If you have multiple credit cards and balances on these credit cards, because when you pay that credit card that's the lowest, you start feeling like, oh yeah, I can do that. Let me jump on this next one. And before you know it, you have all those credit cards paid off. Now when you pay those credit cards off, and he is a big stickler on not having credit whatsoever. I don't do credit. If I can pay cash for it, that's what I'm going to do. I don't need a credit score. That's what I'm looking to achieve. If I have to buy another house or whatever, my expectation is to be able to pay cash for it. I want to prepare myself for that. I want to make sure my girls are prepared in the same manner. You can't buy a book online. He has several books and stuff, but you can't buy a book online using a credit card with him because he doesn't want you in credit. You can use your debit card because it comes directly out of your bank account, but Dave Ramsey is a full-on fanatic. Can we all consider ourselves fanatic when we have something that we're really pressed on doing? Yes, you're passionate about that thing. So finances, Dave Ramsey, and LaTanya Parks, fanatics. That's what I'll say. That's what I am. Because there's a certain way, a certain place that you want to be that you can always give back. You don't want to just be the one who takes all the time. You're absorbing everything. Oh, what can you do for me today? What can you do for me today? It's not that way. What can I do for you? How can I put you in a place that was different from where you were yesterday? How can I help elevate you? That's what I would tell you we should all kind of seek to do for one another. Leasing vehicles, Dave Ramsey calls it fleecing vehicles because it's such a ripoff. And I don't lease vehicles anyway. I'd rather buy that vehicle, as I'm telling you, outright. Or if I can't buy the vehicle outright, I don't need to get a luxury vehicle when I know my net worth is $40,000 a year. What do I look like driving around in a $50,000 vehicle? And I'm trying to pay my rent. I'm trying to pay children's, tuition and things of that nature. It makes absolutely no sense at all. So go out and buy that car that's $8,000 to get you from point A to point B until you can get to that luxury vehicle. We all want to drive something nice, but what's most important when you're in that situation of, watching your finances is that you drive what's in your means. I don't believe in living outside of my means. I'm not going to live in this nice fancy house and then all of a sudden, my kids walking around with a nose snotty. Really? No, I'm not going to do that. I want to make sure I've accumulated enough, I've sown enough, I've given enough. All of those things are important to me in terms of my building wealth. When we're in our client meetings, I tell my clients there are things that you can do whenever you're trying to buy a house that will just take all of that to pieces. It's shot at that point. And you cannot go out and apply for credit. And I know I'm speaking wealth and credit, but for those who are not at that point yet, and you have to buy a house using credit, you cannot go out and buy a house and think that once you're going through the process, all of a sudden, we're days from closing, you decide, I'm getting ready to go put $10,000 down on this nice boat that I've been looking at and dreaming about all my life. You just changed your debt to income ratio. And not only will you not get that boat, but now you got to figure out where you're going to live, because you've already given your notice to your landlord saying you're going to be moving out in 30 days. You don't do it. You don't buy a house. You don't buy a car, a boat, a truck, any of those things. Because if you do, that might be what you're living in at that point, because you've already gone out on the limb to buy something that you shouldn't have purchased. Now, once you get that house or the closing and stuff squared away, you can buy all that you want to. Buy your boats, buy your houses, buy whatever you want to, but just make sure it's after that closing takes place. Because otherwise, like I said, you'll be in a position where it just doesn't benefit you. If you're currently in a home, how many of you own your homes right now? Okay. Renting? You're buying?
It's the same thing when they ask you, do you own your home?
If your name is on the mortgage or on the deed, then you're buying it. Okay? If somebody else owns the house, you're just paying rent to them, you're renting. Okay, you're buying. Okay, good. Make sure if you're in a place, I know rates are now at like an all-time low. You can get into a home probably about 3 years ago at 3.25, which was like crazy good for a home interest rate. Now they've risen to about 4.25, and it depends on what your credit score is once the lender is actually running your numbers and things. But if you've been in your home for, let's say 10 years, and when you bought it 10 years ago, the interest rate was 10%. Well, if you know the rates are not 10% now, because I just told you they were 4.25, it's a good time for you to refinance. Refinance, because you want a lower rate. Do not refinance your home if the rate that you got when you purchased your home 10 years ago was 5, and you want to lower your rate to 4%. Doesn't pass the common sense test, because you're paying extra money now for something you didn't have to do, and it doesn't benefit you. I don't want to save $20. I'm going to refinance my house and save $20 on my mortgage every month. Ma'am, but no ma'am, no thank you. I believe I won't. So if it's a significant difference between what you purchased, that interest rate you purchased at, and the current interest rate for today, you are eligible to refinance your home. And I have lenders and other people that I can actually have you talk to if that's something you're interested in doing. I do have a satellite office here in Goldsboro at Paradigm Insurance, an office that I rent out, and I do come from Fayetteville to Goldsboro to actually facilitate clients, who are looking to purchase or looking to buy or anything. So I am local, and I am in Fayetteville. I guess I'm dual-hatted is what I'll say. So I am available for you if you need anything at all. Any questions so far on anything I touched on? Yes, ma'am.
The story about the boat, is that based off of a true story?
Not a boat, but a car.
Okay.
Not a boat, but a car.
And you're right.
And then something as simple as furniture. I've had clients who have purchased furniture, but they couldn't wait to get into that house. Oh my God, I just bought another house. It's almost like you like this right here. But then you get to the closing table, that lender is doing one final credit check. And they just saw your debt to income change because you had to buy that Ashley furniture to go into that house. You couldn't wait for that furniture? You couldn't wait 24 hours after closing to buy that furniture. Ma'am, you could have waited. So not necessarily a car, but yes, sir.
Question. So if you have a $1 million line of credit when you're a millionaire?
If you have a net worth, and a net worth means the assets that you have, whether they're homes that you already have paid off, whether they're investments that you might have with $200,000 in that account. A millionaire is only that person who has a net worth between cash and assets that amounts to that amount.
So I guess our president wouldn't be a billionaire?
I don't think he is. I don't think he is. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone. Anybody else got any questions? Yes, sir.
When your podcast coming?
Say again.
When your podcast coming?
Your podcast.
Don't be putting that in the atmosphere. I said I'll put stuff out in the atmosphere.
I like everything you were saying, so it's too late. It need to come soon.
Sir, let me rest while I tell you this. Sir, I don't know. I don't know. And I've not really given it a whole lot of thought. I don't know, whatever God's plan is what I would tell you. Is what I would tell you. Anybody else? Any other questions about anything? Money, houses, finance?
So when you set out the year, you have a number of homes that you set to sell, or a number of accounts, so is that a part of your framework for the year?
I am a gold digger.
Okay?
G-O-A-L, goal. I am a gold digger. Okay? Okay? I do have things that I have at the beginning of the year that I put on paper. Almost like a vision board of sorts, but I haven't gotten the vision board as Denise has. But I do have things that I put in place to kind of give me, hey, this is what I want to achieve. I want to sell this many houses. I want to speak at this many events. I want to take this many days off, for vacation. I will go that far. And then if I achieve, excellent. If I underachieve, I'll make it up a little bit later on. I'll make it up. Miss Avon lady, have you got a question for me? Miss Beauty Boss, I'm sorry.
Like if you have a budget, how do you save when you're really making any money?
You learn how to say no. Is it a need or is it a want? If it's a want, you keep stepping. You keep moving. And sometimes, it's Dave Ramsey says, you live like no one else now, so later you can live and give like no one else. So if you're kind of penny pinching some things right now, don't worry about that. Everybody has to start someplace. I don't care if you're saving $10 a week out of every paycheck. It does not matter how much you save. It's the fact that you get started with it. Again, put it someplace. We have also college, the 529 college plans that are out there. If you have a child who is about to go to college, not really about, I can't say that, nowhere near going to college, like baby girl who's the lively one. She's 3. There's a 529 plan, a college plan that the state has that it will allow them to pay a little bit every single month until that tuition for today's rate has been paid. So I did it for both of our girls, and I think at the time they may have been maybe 7 and 10, something like that. So I paid that for like 4 years or so at like $150 a month, something like that. And it paid their 4-year tuition. By the time they turned college age, it was already covered. So I suffered with that $150 a month at that point, and now that they're in college, I'm thinking like, girl.
You got a good mom.
You hear me? They didn't hear you. What did you say?
You have a great mom.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I don't want to bore you. I do want to educate you. I do want to empower you because it's so easy to do, y'all. I'm not speaking and telling you something that I've not done already. I've had the opportunities to be, anybody can go on a vacation, but should you go on that vacation? I want to go to Africa, but should I just keep it in Myrtle Beach for right now until my money look like Africa? So that it looks like an airplane fare and lodging and food? No, I'm going to sit my behind down until I save the money that I need. You can save for what you want to do. And that way you're not taking food out of the food budget or the gas budget or the entertainment budget. Save for what you want to do. Is it a need or is it a want? So somebody tell me why when you're driving down the road and you have your rear view mirror and you have the big windshield in front of you. You visualizing what I'm telling you? Why is that rear view mirror so small?
So you can just have time looking forward and not behind you.
Who cares about the past? Who cares about the past? When you know better, thank you, sir, I appreciate you. When you know better, you do better. Don't worry about the things that are looking in that little rearview mirror. Who cares about that? That's your past. It's a new day. You can do new things with new opportunities with new people. Any questions, anybody? Yes, sir.
Any commercial property?
We do have access to commercial properties. I don't get into them as a primary function, though, but I have access to all of it. Anybody else? Okay, I thank you for your
Give
time.
all the time, a round of applause,
Thank
please.
you.
Don't forget, everything I touch turns to soul.
Very good,
Thank
very
y'all.
good, very good.